So when I was 18, I drove across country to Los Angeles to become a famous rock star. Like so many people before me, I took my small town dreams of fame and fortune and I took them out to the promised land of California, where I'd become incredibly famous. But things in California were not as glamorous as I had hoped they would be. I don't remember exactly how I came to live at the Langham Hotel apartments, but I do remember it was a pretty interesting place to be. Now, the Langham was built in the 1920s. It was this old Art Deco building that an entertainer named Al Jolson had built for his wife. And it had definitely seen better days, but the one thing that was really prominent feature was an Olympic-sized swimming pool on the roof. And they would always take prospective tenants to that roof deck first, because what would happen is once you saw the view from that roof deck, your heart would sign the lease before you ever saw the apartment. This was actually a good thing because the apartments were modest at best. They were converted hotel rooms. So mine was on the 6th floor in the corner, and I had windows facing the street side and windows also facing this kind of dilapidated courtyard. And it was a single room. It had a kitchenette, and it had a bathroom and a large walk-in closet, and it had a balcony, which was really cool. Actually, that was a fire escape, but I like to think of it as a balcony. And there was a garden on my balcony, which consisted of these two large clay flower pots, which had a few shabby-looking flowers struggling to make their way among a patch of growing weeds, much like the rest of the artists in the Langham Hotel apartments, fighting against all the odds. So to pay the bills, I worked construction, and I would work really long days, and then at night, I had to travel to the Valley to practice with the guys in my band because the guitar player had this great gig. He worked at a rehearsal studio, and we could rehearse there for free, but we had to get there after 10 p.m. So I worked construction all day, and then I go about an hour and a half to the Valley, make a bunch of noise with the guys in the band, and then I'd get home around 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd sleep for a few hours, and I'd get up and do it again, and that was my life Monday through Friday. So I was doing this, going through this grind, and it was also a time where my love life really wasn't going that well either. You see, I had left my childhood sweetheart at home, and when we were going through high school, we always thought that we would be together. And she was going to come to LA and we were going to have this great life together out there. But when she came out there, she absolutely hated it. And after just a few months of misery, she went back to the East Coast. And I was devastated. So I moped around for a little bit. But then one day I got this phone call from this girl I had met in LA before named Shye. Now, Shye lived in Texas. And Shye said, hey, why don't you come out and spend Thanksgiving with us? Which I did because it was Texas, seemed kind of close to California, not that far away. So I packed up my things and I drove to Texas. Well, turned out, somebody told me it was about 12 hours to Texas, which was pretty cool, but when I got to the border, and I asked where San Antonio was, and it was like another 1,000 miles. Yeah, so I missed most of Thanksgiving, but I had this great time, and I left there feeling kind of optimistic, like, okay, maybe my life is not a total mistake, and things are going to be better when I get back to LA. Except that then Shye came to LA with all of her stuff, and before I knew it, we were living together in this apartment. And that should have been pretty cool. I mean, we got along most of the time. I would go, we only saw each other a little bit because I was at band practice, right? And on the weekends we would see each other a little bit. And one night when I came back, Shye was on the phone and I heard her saying, well, you know what? He doesn't love you, he loves me. And then she slammed the phone down. And now, this is back when we had analog phones. It's not as traumatic now. It'd be like, he doesn't love you, click. So I'm like, what was that about? And she said, oh, it's just some girl called, said she was your girlfriend. But I put a stop to that. I set her straight. And I was like, why did you do that? I knew right away what had happened. She had told my childhood sweetheart that I didn't care about her anymore, and that actually I was in love with Shye. And I was so mad, I didn't even know what to do, and I just said, I blurted it out. I said, but I don't love you. And I instantly regretted what I said. See, let me tell you a little bit about Shye. I should have loved her, and I tried to love her, and it shouldn't have been that hard, right? Because she had this beautiful mane of hair, and she had these cat green eyes, and she was pretty cool. She had tattoos. She was a little older than me. She also had this gun, this .38 caliber pistol that she carried with her that her daddy gave her for her birthday when she's 16. And she was exotic, and she worked in a bar, and but I couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there. And at that moment, she's staring at me with those cat green eyes after I just told her I didn't love her. And the tears started to form, and she started to sob. And this woman that was so tough, all of a sudden she looked to me like a lost 4-year-old girl at the shopping mall. Maybe couldn't find her mom. And then I felt so bad, like I wanted to take it back, but I couldn't think of what to say. And then the sobbing stopped. And she straightened up a bit, and her gaze hardened. And her brow furrowed. And then she punched me square in the mouth. This was not like one of those Hollywood slaps you see in the movie. Someone's upset. No, this was a full Mike Tyson right cross that hit me square in the mouth and knocked me to my knees. And when I got up, my lip was split. There was blood streaming down my shirt. And she was crying. And she said, please don't hurt me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't hurt me. And I was shaking, and I remember I grabbed her by the elbows, and I didn't even know what to do. I'd never hit a woman before. This is the first time it occurred to me that I might want to change that policy. And I just said, Shye, I got to put you in the closet. Because I knew if I didn't put her in the closet, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just had to get a barrier between her and I. So I took her and I put her into this walk-in closet. She didn't like that. I'm leaning up against the door, and she's banging on that door and screaming, "You let me out, you son of a bitch, you let me out!" And I'm holding that door. I'm like, I don't want to talk, but I'm not going to open this door. And then I actually started feeling a little dizzy. I don't know if it was from the blood loss or from this creepy green eyes, but I started to feel a little dizzy. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up, and it was twilight. It was kind of this blue-black. I could see out the sky out through the windows. And I had a massive headache. I was dizzy, and there was dried up blood on my shirt and on my face. And then I realized that I was still leaning up against the closet door. And it occurred to me that I also was going to have to be at work because my boss picked me up at 5:30 every morning. So I was like, okay, I got to be pretty quiet because it would be extremely dangerous for Shye to wake up right now. And so I very carefully went and I got my tool belt and I got my boots and I grabbed a shirt to change into. And I very carefully and quietly sneaked out the door of my apartment. And I went downstairs. And when I got to the lobby, wasn't there for too long before my boss pulled up in his very old, very loud Ford pickup truck. It's echoing down the streets, a slap truck. And so I start to walk out towards the truck, carrying all of my boots and my stuff, looking, I am sure, like some kind of an extra from a zombie apocalypse war movie, dried up blood. And my boss looks at me across from the passenger seat, like out the window, and he's like, "What the hell happened to you?" And then all of a sudden, blam! Flower pot explodes 3 feet away from me. "You bastard! 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 Bastard!" Echoes down the street. And I was so amazed, like I didn't even flinch. I just looked at the flower pot, and I looked at my boss, and I looked up because I figured that second one was probably on the way. But it wasn't. I didn't see that flower pot, and I didn't see Sherry. So I jumped in the truck, and I said, can we go, please? And we did. And for 20 minutes, neither one of us said a word until we stopped at this coffee shop. And that was a place where we pick up a lot of the day workers that would come out with us to the construction site. And we pulled out of there, and we're drinking some coffee. And finally, my boss turns to me, he says, you okay? And I said, well, at least she didn't get her gun out. So I thought that was all right. I got home that night after a very long day, and I came off the elevator on the 6th floor of the Langham Hotel Apartments, and there, strewn out in the hallway between the elevator and my doorway, was all of my stuff. That's right, Sherry had moved me out of my apartment. You know, and the funny thing is, I should have been angry, but I just felt so bad about everything and how much I hurt her that I just started picking the stuff up and throwing it back inside. And I waited there until she got home from work. And when she got home, you know, we talked. There was a lot of tears. And but things got a little better after that. And eventually she moved out. And not too long after that, I lost my job. And I didn't have any money left. And then I very unceremoniously got evicted from the Langham Hotel Apartments. So when I came in and met the policeman who was going to take me upstairs, if you haven't been evicted before, what happens is they put a notice on your door saying, we're going to evict you, and it stays there for, you know, depending on where you are, 30 to 90 days or so. And then at some point you can't get in, you know, and you're like, why can't I get in? It's because you've been kicked out. So the cops have to come, and the cops took me in, and he said, the way the law works, you can take anything that you can carry with you, but anything else that you leave here is the property of the apartments until you pay your back rent. So I knew right then anything I didn't take I was never going to see again. So I took my guitar, and I took a small backpack full of a few precious things that I had. And as I was leaving, for a moment, I looked out onto my balcony at that other flower pot, and I thought, maybe I should take this with me. But ultimately, I decided I would leave it there for the next person who might need it to deal with the anguish and the pain and the anxiety of a love that was unreciprocated. Thank you.